Hare Krishna recordings.
Hare Krishna. Namo
Vishnu Padaya
Krishna
Krishna
Prasthaya
Prasthaya
Bhutale
Bhutale
Srimate
Bhakti
Bhaktivedanta
Swami
Swamini Namine.
Namaste
Namaste
Saraswati
Saraswati
Devi
Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine.
Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari
Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
I have only a short show and tell about the memories from Maharaj. And my only interaction with Maharaj was a couple of years ago. And I have a ton of gratitude to Prabir Prabhu for arranging that. This was one of the times when Maharaj, 2 years ago, this is when Jayapataka Maharaj was recovering in Chennai. Maharaj came here for a Bhagavatam class, and I was fortunately off that day, so I was able to listen to the class. And then Prabir Prabhu, after the class, he calls me and asks me if I could arrange a flu shot for him. And I immediately just took up that opportunity, dressed up, and went to my work and asked them to follow me. I think Shesha Prabhu was also with Maharaj and Prabhu Prabhu. So they followed me immediately. He was on a tight schedule, so they came right behind me, and I went in to the pharmacy and made the arrangements. And while I was making the arrangement, I noticed Maharaj was having a conversation with my partner, who is from a different faith, a Muslim from Egypt, and he was having a long conversation with him. And I was able to do this small service for Maharaj so that he could go visit Jayapataka Maharaj, who was recovering from his transplant. So I just want to show this as a show and tell. That was my only interaction with Maharaj, and I noticed he was so gentle and humble all the time during this very brief interaction. And that was the only time I had an opportunity to interact with him. And right after that, he had to leave because of his tight schedule. And fortunately, he was able to go visit Jayapataka Maharaj in Chennai after that. And that's all I have to share about Maharaj. But of late, Maharaj has been giving a lot of classes from Ujjain, and my wife at night here, she puts up the Bhagavatam class, and of late we have been listening to a lot of Bhagavatam class lectures from Maharaj. And the theme I always got from Maharaj's lectures were that he was always concerned about the welfare of devotees in the community. And instead of making more and more new devotees, he wanted to make sure that the devotees already in the community are well taken care of, well managed. And that was a continuous theme I got from Maharaj all the time, listening to his classes. And he was very focused on that, to make sure everybody in the community are taken care of. And he was really concerned about their welfare. And that's something. And today morning, Bhadra Prabhu sent me a short video clip about Maharaj giving a small talk about why he will never leave ISKCON. And after seeing that video clip, I realized that was the best preaching video that we can use. And so I sent it to a lot of my non-devotee friends, because that he just gave a good overview and essence of the spiritual life within ISKCON. And I thank Bhadra Prabhu and Prabir Prabhu for this opportunity that I got. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Could I say one thing? It was one of the home programs, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj, Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj was there. What impressed me the most was when he was leaving, he went to every single person and said bye. He just did not say bye to one person or collectively and leave. He was making sure he went to every single person. He had that personal touch with everyone all the time. It was so nice. I'm very sad that we cannot have any more of his association in person. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank you.
giving us this opportunity.
Hare Krishna. So we're just we're still working with Mother Satyasara. We're hoping to get things sorted out for her. So we're going to advance the schedule here a little bit. As Damodar just said, we're going to ask Mother Nartaka Gopal to speak next, and then she would be followed by Mother Sri Garangi and Brajaraj Sutta Prabhu. And if we get things sorted out in between, we'll bring Mother Satyasara to hear from her. Okay, so we've hit the technical difficulty stage of the memorial today, but we'll continue on. Good thing Damodar's on the case, so we'll get things sorted out here. So we will have we'll ask Sri Garangi and Prabir Prabhu to speak next if you guys are ready, followed by Brajaraj Sutta Prabhu.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Simate Bhakti Charu Swami Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Simate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namo Vishnu Padaya Namaste Shri Krishna.
So the very first time I remember meeting His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami, I was just coming to the Philadelphia Temple. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to be involved with this son or not. And he was giving an initiation ceremony. And it was so sweet because he personally sang the Brahma Samhita prayers. And I thought after that ceremony, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of this world. And so I would come every Sunday to the temple. And whenever Maharaj would come, he would always used to sing the Tavakatamritam prayers. And they were just so beautiful. And, before I could even memorize any Bhagavad Gita or any other slokas, I always knew the first stanza of that prayer because he would always sing it. And it was just so, so beautiful. And he just gave a glimpse of how beautiful the spiritual world is. One thing that strikes for me, 2 points that strikes for me actually from Maharaj is his sweetness, his relationships with devotees, and his sincere dedication to Srila Prabhupada. My Guru Maharaj said every single time he would come to New Vrindavan, my Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Varshana Swami, would always say that Bhakti Charu Swami would always ask him, how is your health? How are you doing? Who's taking care of you? Are all your needs being met? Very, very personal. And he would also ask about the status of the palace, Srila Prabhupada's Samadhi in America. And, is it renovated? Is it complete? Should we raise funds for it? This should be responsibility of all the God brothers and God sisters, not just New Vrindavan management. Let's make this happen. He was very, very keen on that being completely renovated to close sooner than later. And that really, these two things really touched my Guru Maharaj's heart. Every time he would come, he would ask about these. And we had the opportunity, the very good fortune for Maharaj, for Bhakti Charu Swami to visit us this past few years. And last year when he came during Kartik, I was 1 week before delivering our little Nitai. And Maharaj was so sweet. He was always, are you sure? Am I not intruding? Am I, this must be too much for your wife. He was just always concerned about us. And we just wanted him to come. It was Kartik. We're like, please, Maharaj, just come. Give us your blessings. We want your association. And I remember one time my husband was actually massaging Maharaj's feet. And I was in my bedroom with my older one, Nimai. And suddenly Nimai woke up and was crying and was a little disoriented and calling for his dad. And Maharaj just made my husband stop and said, no, this is your first duty, your son. I wanted my husband to continue the service, and Maharaj was like, please, the children come first. And anytime when we were here and my little one was acting up, Maharaj kept always say, please, he's a little boy. It's okay. It's okay. The children are first. Don't reprimand them. Don't ask them to do this or that. Just let them be. He was so personal, even with the children. And I'm just grateful for all of this. The blessings, Maharaj, that you gave, and praying that you can continue to receive your blessings continually. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Bhakti Charu Guru Maharaj, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, and all glories to all his disciples, grand disciples. So I had the great fortune to have association with Maharaj. Actually, all of you are more fortunate than me because you had longer years, but I had last 2 years. First, I knew Maharaj before in New York, but came contact closely in Sheshu Prabhu's house. And actually, Sheshu Prabhu's house, Sheshu Prabhu first introduced me as a doctor. Maharaj was a little sick. And I'm just giving you one example how Maharaj was so nice to how we behave. So I mentioned one that Maharaj, I'm taking shelter of Sheshu Prabhu, and then Maharaj said, oh, you should take initiation from Sheshu Prabhu. Then we didn't talk anything about that, but then he asked me next day to Vishwambhara Prabhu's house to see him. So I went there early morning. And then Maharaj said again that, oh, you should take take initiation. And I told Maharaj that, Maharaj, I was from another sampradaya. I got my Harinam initiation. Oh, he said, oh, that's okay. You take second initiation. Then I said, Maharaj, I'm not sure Sheshu Prabhu will give, but shelter means, I'm taking association of his Sheshu Prabhu. Then Maharaj said, oh, that means you have to understand. When you say shelter, it means that you are taking initiation. So I said, I apologize. I understand that Maharaj, how, he was so meticulous on what we say and then we do. And so I just want to mention few occasions, Maharaj, how he was, like as my wife was mentioning, last year he came twice. And Govardhan Puja Day, he was here, and the day before he just came from Vrindavan, India. And he called me that, okay, we are coming, so you need to invite some of my god brothers. And so, and then he right away he said, oh, your wife, your wife is expecting. I said, yes, Maharaj. Then he said, oh, how you're going to cook? Then he said, okay, let me ask one of my cook to come. Then I said, Maharaj, what should we buy? Then he said, okay, let me make the menu. So he made the menus and everything. And he said, bring those things. And I will bring my cook, and then he can cook. Then we had the fortune to have devotees like Tamar Prabhu, Ambarish Prabhu, and Sheshu Prabhu, and Ranjit Prabhu. They came. Actually, he was also asking for Guru Gauranga Prabhu, but who was not here. So Maharaj was very, he knew everything. And then after, then the one important thing was before last year, 2018 also Maharaj came, and I asked, at that time I asked him that Maharaj, then he said, oh, you should take, you can take second initiation, I will tell. But I said, Maharaj, my Harinam Diksha was from another Sampradaya. Then he said, no, that's okay. You take second initiation, I will tell Mother Mukhya and Tamahar Prabhu. You tell them. So I said, Maharaj, but I need to do my Bhakti Shastri. Then he said, okay, then do the Bhakti Shastri and then let me know. So it was really blessed. I was blessed, like every time he come, and if he have any health related problem, he will call me. And just to give you one example, this time, the other important thing is as my wife was mentioning, I was doing services. I was massaging his feet when he came for Prabhupada disappearance day. And that also, he left on the same day of Govardhan Puja. And he told me that, okay, I'm going to let you know that whether I'm coming for Prabhupada's disappearance day. So next day morning, he called me and he said, Prabhu, I'm coming. There will be 4 devotees with me and I'm going to bring my cook. You don't have to do anything. You don't need to do any shopping. We are going to make pizza. See, again, he managed the everything and he came. So that time we couldn't offer our house for his disciples, other disciples. So we arranged for Pran Govinda Prabhu's son's house. So I was alone with Maharaj. So I gave him message and so I asked him, Maharaj, do you have any other services for me? So he said, oh, you are doing so many services already. I don't have anything, but I said, then any instruction? Then he said, one instruction I will give you, never leave ISKCON. Try to stay in ISKCON in any situations. Never leave ISKCON. So I said, okay, Maharaj, bless me so that I can say. He said, okay, I'm blessing you. So that was one. Then when this year, during Gaur Purnima, he was supposed to come to Alachua. So I texted him. Usually I used to text him and he will respond to me later. So I texted him, then Maharaj, please, I heard you are going to be here in Alachua during Gaur Purnima. Please come to stay with us. So he didn't, because suddenly he decided to go to Dubai and India because of all this lockdown. So then suddenly in March, end of March, I got a call from him. He said, Prabir, I couldn't talk to you and I left early. But next time when I come, I will definitely visit you. So, he was like a celebrity, in ISKCON, and I am like such insignificant, not even like his initiated disciple. But he was very kind, very kind. One other important, all of you are talking about like Vaishnava etiquette. One thing I realized, when I was alone with him, he will speak with me in Bengali. Never speak. If I try to speak English, then he will converse with me in Bengali. But if someone else is there, even my wife is there, he will start talking in English. Because so I learned those things. That then I asked Maharaj one time, he said Prabhupada used to do that also. He said, when I was with Prabhupada alone, then Prabhupada will speak Bengali with me. But in presence of other devotees, he will speak English. So I just want to finish with 2 situations. So this time when Maharaj got sick, he came on Deland on Monday, I think 16th. And then he called me on Tuesday morning that I'm sick. Then I told him, Maharaj, most likely you have COVID because you have fever. Then he said, no, I don't have COVID. Can you come? So I said, Maharaj, I'm going to try. So Tuesday I couldn't go. Wednesday I went there. And before that I gave him some medication. So he took the medication the first 2 days. Then he was feeling better. Then when I went to see him, then he was asking me actually, Nimai and Nitai, he was telling me, how is your son doing? So he was telling me that give my, in Bengali, nobody was there. He was telling me, give my shubhecha. Shubhecha means regards. So I said, Maharaj, please bless them. We don't need your shubhecha. He was blessing. So he said, okay, I am blessing your sons and your wife and you. So, and then when I was telling him, Maharaj, please take care of yourself. Please eat as much as possible. Then he was telling me, oh, don't worry. Then he was saying that Marobi Rakhobi Jo Ichha Tohara. He said, you remember this line? I said, yes, Maharaj. So he said, we just need to remember that line. And the last one was the day he went to the hospital. The last word when Guru Gauranga Prabhu was, Maharaj's disciple Guru Gauranga Prabhu called me and he said, Dr. Banik, Maharaj made me power of attorney, but they are asking for him to go to the ventilator. And I cannot take the decision. So then I said, okay, Prabhu, he connected me through a line. And Maharaj's voice was very low. I can see that he was having short of breath. So Maharaj was saying that I gave my life to the hand of devotees and Krishna. So do whatever you want. Then I said, Maharaj will call GVC. Then Maharaj said, do whatever you want. So he was even when he was going to the hospital, he was totally fully dependent on Krishna. He was happy and I mean he was transcendental. So that's my good fortune. I got that association. Hare Krishna, go back to you, please.
Prabir Prabhu and Mother Shikarangi, thank you so much. And Prabir Prabhu, thank you especially for sharing your last couple comments there. I think those are important for us to hear. So I think we've resolved the technical difficulties. So we're going to invite Mother Satyasara to join us, followed by Mother Nartaka Gopal, and then Brajraj Sutta Prabhu. So if all goes well, that'll be how it'll flow here. So Mother Satyasara, we'll give it back to you.
Hare Krishna. Okay, my story is very short. We used to, my husband and I and our family, we lived in England and we were there in the mid-80s and early 90s. And we lived in Leicester, and Bhakti Charu Maharaj used to come occasionally to Leicester, to the temple there, and to the Namahatha meetings. We used to do a lot of Namahatha meetings. And so that's kind of how we knew him. And then in 1988, we were in Mayapur, my husband and I, and they put us in the long building, and there were cockroaches there. And at that time, I was totally freaked out by cockroaches. So the next morning we were walking over to the temple, and we just bumped right into Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and he remembered us from Leicester, and we started talking. And I can't remember much of the conversation, but I just blurted out, "Oh, Maharaj, you know, I'm so freaked out that room. There were so many cockroaches in there." And then I can't remember what happened after that, but then he was talking with us, and then a little later a brahmachari came up to us, and he took us to this brand new room in the I think it was the Lotus building then. And so we got to stay in this brand new room with no cockroaches, and for that I have been eternally grateful. Well, I've been grateful ever since for just for the kindness that he showed, that he went to the trouble, because I was like in a distraught state, to help, and so he moved us into a really nice room, and that's just an example of his kindness, that he was so kind and caring, and he remembered us. And also my husband was telling me a story today. He's in Wales at the moment, but he was saying that one time when we were in class in Leicester, that there was one devotee there, and he was very kind of eccentric and very outspoken, and he always, at the end of class, he always had a comment to make that was kind of, you know, anyway. So Maharaj gave this really nice class, and at the end of the class, this devotee said, "Oh, but Prabhupada said so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so in something or other." And so it was kind of, you know, a little challenging or whatever. And Bhakti Charu Maharaj just sat there, and he just thought for a minute or two. And then he said, your devotion to Srila Prabhupada and Krishna is absolutely amazing. And so instead of getting into any kind of conflict or anything, he kind of just glorified this devotee. And it was just amazing how he dealt with the situation, that he didn't, you know, he didn't get sucked into any controversy or arguing or, you know, saying whatever. He just humbly accepted, and then he glorified this devotee who actually was always talking about Prabhupada, and anyway, it was very nice, and that's my memory. I saw him a few years ago, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, at the Festival Inspiration in New Vrindavan, but he was completely surrounded by so many devotees, and I wanted to thank him then again, because that I've always thought of him with for his kindness, that he was so kind. But I never got the chance, and that's all I wanted to say. Hare Krishna, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Bhakti Charu Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami. This is Narataka Gopal. I had the good fortune in 2016 to go to Ujjain temple with Sukada Devi, Pushkar Prabhu's wife, and Premavati. So we went to Ujjain temple, and we got such a wonderful, warm, and welcoming reception from Maharaj and all of his disciples. They were so sweet, and they took such good care of us. And the temple is magnificent. It's one of the most magnificent temples I've seen on the planet, with a huge Goshala, big 4-story Ayurvedic clinic, and gorgeous temple. Reminded me a lot, the layout reminded me somewhat of Vrindavan temple layout, and so magnificent. So in the last few days since Maharaj's departure, I noticed a few of his disciples from outside of the United States kind of lamenting or stating, "Oh, Maharaj, why did you even go to the West? We wish you hadn't," like that. And Maharaj himself answered that in the Vyasa Puja books. If you read his last few years' homages to Srila Prabhupada, it's very clearly stated. In the 2015, in his homage, he tells the story how he was in Vrindavan with Srila Prabhupada, serving him. Prabhupada was ill. It was 1 a.m. in the morning. Prabhupada was not sleeping properly, so he couldn't sleep. So Maharaj was massaging Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. And Prabhupada, as Maharaj said, began to lament. And Prabhupada said, "There is so much to do, but I am so sick and not able to do anything." And Maharaj said to Srila Prabhupada, "Srila Prabhupada, what you have done is beyond anyone's imagination. You should not feel that there is anything left to be done. Just relax." And Prabhupada replied to him, this is a very important statement. He said, "What I have done so far is 50%. The other 50% is to establish Varnashram. Not that everyone will become a devotee. For those who will not become devotees, we need Varnashram." So then Maharaj continues in his 2018 Vyasa Puja homage to Srila Prabhupada. He explains how in 2017, Bhakti Charu Swami decided to support the Ministry of Cow Protection and Agriculture. he says, I know, Srila Prabhupada, how concerned you were about developing those two crucial areas of Vedic culture. Human civilization rests on these two gifts of Krishna in the form of Mother Nature and Mother Cow. So His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami met with devotees involved in cow protection in the West. And he became aware that it was especially difficult in colder regions because when the cows grow old and stop giving milk, taking care of them in the winter is very expensive. And their numbers increase every year. So ordinary farmers sell their old cows to the slaughterhouse when they stop giving milk. But of course, this is out of the question for us. So caring for the older cows had become an ever increasing problem. So Maharaj thought, if we could find a large piece of land where the weather is not so severe, we could let the retired cows graze in the pasture throughout the year. So he looked for land in the southern part of the United States and came across a 116-acre property that had previously been a Christian retreat center. So it's on a lake with the facilities for the retreat center still there, and outside of DeLand, Florida. And Maharaj got this property. He said, we decided to utilize the property, not only for taking care of the cows, but also for preaching. So for me, that perfectly answers the question why Maharaj left his comfort zone and went out and got this farm, and was because he's trying to fulfill Prabhupada's cherished desire to establish Varnashram. It's very clear, and it's something that very inspiring for the rest of us. The last thing I want to say is this is from Maharaj's last year, 2019 Vyasa Puja. Very heartwarming and very eloquently put. This is his prayer to Prabhupada. So one afternoon, Maharaj was at Juhu Temple serving Prabhupada up in his quarters. And he told Prabhupada, although you taught me that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I still feel that I don't know him. However, Srila Prabhupada, I know you. You are my everything. All I want is to be with you, life after life. And without saying anything, Srila Prabhupada smiled in a way that conveyed everything to Maharaj, Maharaj says. Maharaj offered obeisances to him and said, Srila Prabhupada, although I am totally unqualified, please let me stay at your lotus feet forever, engaging my entire existence in your service. So all glories to His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami, breaking our hearts that he left the planet, but they have a glorious party in the spiritual world. That's the only thing that we can think to console ourselves and bereft of his saintly association. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hi, Krishna. Mother Nataka Gopal, thank you so much for sharing. And Mother Satyasari, I'm glad we're able to get you on for you to share as well. Thank you for joining us. And so we're just slightly behind schedule. So we're going to ask Brajarudra Sutta Prabhu and Krishna Priya, Mother Krishna Priya, to join us next. And then next, the rundown from there is Vrindavaneshwari, Ranjit Prabhu, Vaikuntha Prabhu, and Mother Jahnavi. And then that'll take us pretty close to the end of the remembrances. And I do want to encourage you, if you can, stay. Govinda Prabhu is going to share some very special things with us at 7:45. regarding Bhakti Charu Maharaj's departure. So if you can stay, I would encourage you to do so. If you can't, this is being recorded, and we'll have that recording available for anyone who can. So thank you.
Hare Krishna Prasad Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Jai Kumar Shri You go first. I both first want to say that I appreciate all that's been said and all that I've heard elsewhere. It's been very good. A lot of statements so nice about Guru Maharaj. And also I want to pray for Guru Guranga. We're grounded as of course with Guru Maharaj down in Orlando. So I first met Guru Maharaj by a cassette tape. It was the songs of the Vaishnava Acharyas. I don't remember exactly where I got it, but that was my first contact with him. Then the next contact was when I met my wife. I got married in South Africa, and she had to stay there and get her visa in order, and I came back. And she let me take, I did not, other than hearing that song, Songs of Vaishnava Acharyas, I knew nothing of Bhakti Charu Swami. So he had two seminar series on Rihad Bhagavatamrita and Vaishnava etiquette, 6 or 7 cassette tapes each that I took back. It was going to be a couple months before Krishna Priya could come over. So at that time I was working with the Department of Agriculture, and I was in the field by myself. And I remember specifically pulling out one of the tapes, had a little tape player, and listening to it. And I just became convinced that this devotee, I had been around for a while already at that time. This was 1999, and I had been around since I first met the devotees in 85, but I didn't have a spiritual master. And so I started listening to that while eating lunch one day, and I became convinced this devotee is very pure. He's really, he's further along than the others that I had been listening to. So I thought that I'm going to eventually try to become his disciple. Next thing, so we got married and we had kids and we were busy, etc. for quite a while. But I did start writing him. And then I first physically met him in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2001. And like others I've heard, the first instruction he gave me was, because I was giving him an envelope with a small donation I could give. He said, "Don't give with your left hand." I'm left-handed, and I wasn't very confined to such etiquette. Anyway, that was in Charlotte. But what was more significant was that was the weekend prior to 9/11. I got home Monday, went back to work on Tuesday, and 9/11 occurred. And it's like, kind of like thunders after somebody says something. So kind of like a sound. So what was next? Then we would go to the festivals of inspiration and his birthday, Prabhupada Memorial Festival. So I finally, we had asked that we could have a darshan with Guru Maharaj in Vrindavan. And at that time I asked him if I could aspire, and he said yes. He wanted me to continue writing. So I kept writing, tried to write at least once a month. I was involved in a group in Tennessee at the time. And so what happened next was Rupanuga, not Rupanuga Prabhupada's disciple, but Rupanuga Guru Maharaj's disciple, announced that Guru Maharaj was going to give initiation at an upcoming seminar he was giving in Orlando to those that were aspiring. So he asked us to get letters of recommendation. So I asked the local authority. I never lived in, I'm a little bit different. I never lived in a temple. I visited temples and stayed in a temple for a month and sat out at San Diego for a summer, not at the temple. But anyway, so I asked the one who was mostly in charge of our group, who was initiated by Satsvarup, and he was glad. He felt there was 4 of us, and we were all at that point not initiated. And, so he was glad to write a letter, and so I was able to get initiated. That was 2008 down here in Orlando. Just a few notes I was trying to write on things I could say. I like that Guru Maharaj had a good sense of humor. I think maybe that's one thing I haven't heard other devotees saying, how he really liked to had a jovial nature. I was writing on some of the characteristics. He had a real zeal for Krishna consciousness. Someone else mentioned Vikadashi Prata here, mentioned he's like her Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Charu, he was a spiritual warrior. He talking about the event that happened recently regarding the temple in Brooklyn, New York. He was a scholar. He was a gentleman. He was a sage and a sannyas. He was a teacher. You know, despite the recent COVID infection that took him from us, I felt he had very good health. You would see him walking, just what he was able to do day to day was largely demonstrated his good health. He's very caring, he's very sweet, he's very considerate. He would remember us, you know, he would remember the kids' names, remember me. I was very insignificant. He's serious and also jovial. Like I said, he liked to cut jokes. I remember one time coming out of the Vrindavan temple, the big wooden doors in Krishna Priya. Guru Maharaj and myself were walking out. I don't remember what he said, but I don't remember if I said something, and I said it kind of like joking. You know, he took it and ran with it, like he liked it, and he liked that joking nature. He added to it and made it was funny. Sorry, I can't remember exactly what was said, but he was also determined and very disciplined. So I liked it that Guru Maharaj had a good sense of humor. I was saying, I liked to joke, but he was also serious. Also, at that same time, I remember, I suppose at the same time in New Vrindavan, there was a devotee, young devotee. Maybe he wasn't Indian like myself. Maybe he wasn't so aware of the culture, and he was kind of we were in the temple room. It wasn't during a program or anything, but he was kind of, what do you call it, cutting up, what's the word for with a girl. He was kind of like his girlfriend. And this was many years ago, and he obviously got married to this devotee, this girl, good devotee, but I was like noticing Guru Maharaj just kind of averted his eyes because he knew that they weren't aware of. You don't do girl boy stuff like touching and joking with each other. So he was serious also. And I'm going to turn it over to Krishna Priya pretty quickly. Guru Maharaj liked the traditional dhoti kurta, but apparently he was okay with those of us who weren't temple devotees wearing clean pants and shirts. But I will say that one time I went to the Deland temple, I think to pick up Krishna Priya, and I only came with like one pair of long pants because I knew I was going to go to the program the next morning. But there was a program that I didn't know or wasn't really planned at a yoga studio, and I wore my long pants there, and we were really having a good kirtan. Bhakti Prema was there. Guru Maharaj didn't go with us, but Bhakti Prema went, and we had a really long, hot kirtan. And so the next morning, instead of wearing those long pants, I wore shorts. And I know Guru Maharaj did not. He didn't say anything, but if looks could kill, I would wear shorts again. I was thinking, this is remote, out in the woods. But that wasn't the way Guru Maharaj looked at it. So I have another thing or two I can remember. Okay, like I was saying, I wasn't a normal devotee living in a temple and stuff. I feel like Guru Maharaj granted me membership into to ISKCON, and I really appreciate that. And I will say that one thing that I liked was that at our initiation, there was 22 of us that were initiated in 2008 in Orlando. He asked that we never leave ISKCON. And he also said that he realized a lot of us, we may not have a real intimate relationship with him, and that was fine. That he knew that others would become, not that anyone else has become for me anyway, most important, but he was aware that others, that of the importance of getting the Siksha from many places, wherever you are. So I remember him saying that. I think that's about it. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances to all the Vaishnavas. Namo Om Vishnu Devaya Krishna Santi Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami. I had the good fortune of serving Maharaj in South Africa when he first arrived. The first week, I remember attending his lectures. At that time, I joined in Durban. Indradumna Maharaj was the temple president. I remember feeling, or the impression Maharaj made upon my heart was that wherever this person is, I want to follow. And whatever he says, I want to do. And by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, he has allowed me that opportunity throughout my life thus far to serve Maharaj in South Africa, in Mayapur, and now with the land project, which is so dear to his heart. He was the perfect father. He always made us feel loved and safe under his guidance. I remember taking Radhika and Jivani to Ujjain for Maharaj's, for the Prabhupada Memorial Festival. And Maharaj took such good care of us that they said, Mama, we feel like princesses. They didn't actually want to come home. They wanted to stay in India. Maharaj, also we flew with Maharaj from Ujjain to Mayapur, and Maharaj arranged that we could stay in Tamal Krishna Maharaj's quarters. And you could feel it's a very special place to stay in. And we were so grateful for all the services he's showered upon us. In Ujjain, Maharaj allowed me and Archana, actually, Archana's mercy, allowed us to paint at the gold leaf doors of the altars, Lord Nrsimhadev's altar, and Gaunitai, Radha and Krishna. So we spent 3 nights staying up all night and serving in that way. But before we could start, he actually came down and was teaching us how to paint gold leaf. And then in the land, Maharaj personally went out and bought 50 fruit trees and positioned each one where they should be. and I would dig the holes, and he would be over watching over me, directing me how I should plant it. And then there was this one tree that was in the way, a big oak tree, and
sycamore tree.
Sycamore, and you cut it down, and we were struggling with the base of it.
Yeah.
And when we got
it was big, it was like 30 inches, 36 inches diameter at the base.
And when we finally were able to extract it out of the earth, Maharaj from his bedroom started screaming, "Hare Bol, Hare Bol."
Maharaj was watching from up on his room, which was up the hill a little bit.
Yeah.
And I remember when it finally got that last bit and toppled it, the big Hare Bol, and I was like, "That Maharaj?"
Yeah. And that evening, after a hard day of working in the field, Guru Maharaj went into the kitchen and made us samosas, and sat and made sure we actually honored Prashant. Yeah, he was such a person.
That was also, I want to say, when Guru Maharaj gave me a big hug. That was really nice.
He also gave you an
Very special.
instruction, and hopefully you will follow it. He wanted you to go down every week and help with the Deland project. Then we said, Guru Maharaj, every week will be a little too much. And then he said, every second week. So now the project is there, and so it's up to us. We pray for his blessing and the blessing of all the Vaishnavas, that we can help in whatever way and assist the Deland devotees, and thereby making our life a success and pleasing Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Sorry.
And glories to Srila Bhakti Charu Swami.